The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey, what's up? This is Jeff Cobb, and you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'm a chiller. Let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be discussing the road to new beginning, answering your questions, and covering all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network or to Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our personal tee store, personaltees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate, clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com, with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. Young boy, how you doing, man?
I am hanging in there. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Just, another day in this crazy pandemic.
Yeah, it's just, it's one of those things where, there's some things in life that just bring you so much joy. And when those things get taken away from you, it really is hard to kind of rebound from it. And, some people listening, they're probably thinking I'm talking about going to movies, seeing loved ones, not wearing a mask. But what I'm really referring to is the lack of Fantascomania in my life. Oh, man. Yeah.
The lack of Caristico, of Barrio Cavernario.
I actually thought my delivery would pop you there, so it caught me off guard. Just like,
No, I feel that, man. I miss some Fantascomania. I miss the music. I miss, our Fuego Jr. dancing with Risuke Taguchi. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, it's just it's hard. This is the time of the year that I'm accustomed to. Family tag team tournament.
Yeah, the Guerrero brothers against
annual historic world middleweight championship title matches.
Yeah, Quattrero and Sanson, all those guys.
And instead, I got to watch all these fools over in Japan. I want to watch the Mexicans. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, well, at least we still got Kojima in a big program. So
yeah, man. But it's weird. It's like we kind of got a lot to talk about, but we also kind of don't.
Yeah. So we're going to run through these 3 Road to New Beginning shows, talk about the results and the kind of story elements that happened there. Also had a ton of questions from you guys, so we're going to try and run through all that.
That is one thing. There's a lot of questions about everything happening on these shows. So, it seems like there's definitely a segment of the audience, at least our listenership, that are pretty invested in what's happening. And these shows haven't been bad by any means. In fact, they've been, quick, breezy watches. I mean, we're talking like 2-hour shows, but at the same time, I kind of feel like nothing of real consequence is totally happening. We're going to discuss it here, but do you think that the re-engagement for a lot of our listeners has to do with the success of Wrestle Kingdom, or do you think it's this new format? What do you think it is?
Yeah, I definitely think there's multiple variables. Yeah, I think the buzz of Wrestle Kingdom. We'll talk about in the news, there was a nice increase of subscribers coming from Wrestle Kingdom. So I think that had something to do with it. I think having English commentary live for this tour with
Yeah.
Kevin Kelly, I think that's helped a lot. And then also, yeah, the 2 hour format that they're doing now due to the COVID outbreak. They're limiting the shows to 2 hours, 5 matches. They're starting them earlier. There's a curfew at 8, so getting the shows done before 8 p.m. Tokyo time. So I think that the shorter format helps. I mean, you don't need 10 multi-man tags to build to what's coming up. So
For me, the shorter format is helping, but what's not helping is the reduced crowd size. And do we know what that is? Because I was wondering, is this a mandate? Are they back down to reduced numbers, or do you think it's just because of the curfew, or maybe like panic over the state of emergency? Like I couldn't tell really. I couldn't find anything about that either.
yeah, it sounds like I know one of the Corkin shows. I think they might have did around 400. I think paid. I think again it's different variables. I think with the show starting earlier, it is harder for people getting off work to catch a train to get there in time for the show. And if you get there late, it's like you're pretty much missing majority of the show. Is it worth even going for the show?
Well, not even just that, but like if you have to be home at a certain time,
Right.
it reduces any kind of travel crowds, pretty greatly.
Right, and I'm sure there are some people who are concerned about the pandemic. These shows, we're in the middle of the week here, not weekend shows. So I'm sure there's a lot of different factors, and I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about the building, the capacity, but I'm sure they probably have lowered that as well. So it's a mix of things there that's having lower crowds than usual.
Nice. Well, let's get into this stuff.
Yeah, I want to start a question here from Kevin from DC. He says, a general question starts off this week. Obviously, because of a noticeable spike in cases around the greater Tokyo area, shows are starting earlier and then ending earlier with 5 matches per show so far instead of the normal 6. Generally, the matches have been shorter as well, ensuring the event that even with entrances, the intermission and the post-show promos, VOD usually comes in at around 2 hours. This makes the shows easier to get through on JPW World. However, if I were going in person, I would feel slighted at the amount of wrestling the live crowd gets. If you were somehow able to go to the shows live, would you be disappointed in less than 2 hours of action per show?
Personally speaking, no. But I mean, I can't speak for someone else, that's attending the shows. For me, a tight under 2 hour show is usually a treat no matter what the circumstances are, especially if it's high caliber, high quality, and it's, kept real tight like that. I kind of prefer it, especially when it is a Road to show.
Right. It's not like it's, a normal, it's not New Beginnings, it's not a King of Pro Wrestling, it's not a big show at all. It's not even, a Destruction. These are Road to shows. So I would not feel slighted if I was going. I mean, first of all, we're going to a show in the middle of a pandemic where my city's having the highest cases it's ever had. I would kind of understand why the shows are, less than 2 hours worth of action. You're still getting to see all the big stars or setting up all the big programs for the upcoming New Beginning shows. So,
Yeah, I agree with that.
So let's talk about, start with night 1, January 17th, going over these results. So opened up with the United Empire, Great Okan, Will Ospreay, company with B. Priestley. They defeated Satoshi Kojima and Yota Tsuji. Something to point out here. So pretty much all these Road 2 shows are opening up with United Empire versus Kojima and the Young Lion. We've got the debut of the Empire's logo. So they finally have a logo now. So once again, all the purpose of this match is to preview Will Ospreay versus Kojima. That's coming up. Also for Kojima to get some revenge on these guys for taking out Tenzan.
One thing before we move on, we have not done Wrestler of the Month.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting to put it in there.
So I'm just gonna throw this out there. I'm looking on Cage Match right now. I'm giving myself a little brief refresher on December. I think it's pretty safe to say Hiromu Takahashi is the Wrestler of the Month for December.
Yes.
Just based on his output, I'm looking at his matches, the ones with Show, Taguchi, obviously the Desperado final, plus he won the final. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say he's probably the wrestler of the month, and then him and Desperado is obviously the match of the month.
Yep, I agree with those. So boom, there's
All right, well,
your December wrestler of the month and match of the month.
this is the latest we've ever gotten that out.
Yeah, because I don't know,
All right.
we missed it one, and then I just keep forgetting it because it's so late in the month. I just don't even think about it. So yeah, there we go. So we got that locked in.
So yeah, we can continue on.
So some questions here about this Empire and this opening matchup here. So first from our user Dun Diesel 86, it says, is it just me or is Okan vibing to Ospreay's music theme during entrance the greatest thing ever? I'm totally sold on this man and his gimmick.
Are you paying attention to the entrance themes?
I am. So yeah, Okan is doing the kind of that kind of jumping like viral. I forget what's the gimmick, the Gangshi or whatever.
Jiangxi.
Yeah, still doing those kind of movements, but he's kind of doing it in beat to Ospreay's new heel theme song. So yeah, I love Okan's entrance coming out with the Empire, and I think it's working. Guy looks like a star, and so yeah, I mean we've already been sold on Okan, but yeah.
What do you like Ospreay's new music better than Elevated?
No. Dude, Elevated was epic, man. You heard that dun, 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 dun. Like you knew that, business was about to pick up.
We always had that joke whenever Aleister Black would come out in NXT, we'd be like, it's time to rise the fuck up.
That's exactly how it was. It's time to elevate.
Yeah, that's how it was when fucking Ospreay had come out Elevated.
And that man fought so hard last year. Was it last year, the year before, to get the rights to the song? Because remember there was that time period where it went away for a little bit and then it came back, and now just threw that all out the window.
Well, these things happen.
Next question from Reddit user Drive Like Josh U says, how many blank do I need to blank for Kojima to win something? I get that he's a gatekeeper and stone stepping now, but do we think he's going to get one last G1 run or never push before he retires?
My real question is, how many blanks does he have to blank or they? What are these blanks, sir? That he what blanks does he have to blank? I don't understand the question here.
I think he's maybe wanting us to give like something that he has to do to in order to.
Oh, I'm not gonna play that game because I've got a very distinct thing that I think that they're asking, and I'm not gonna. I don't think this is a family-friendly show. I'm not gonna sully our good name.
Maybe we hand him out some Hindu squats. But yeah, this is the 30th anniversary of Satoshi Kojima in the professional wrestling business. Obviously, he's been getting some highlight moments that he hasn't been getting the last few years. We're seeing him, he had the big Wrestle Kingdom match with Kenta. Now he's in this program here with Ospreay. I definitely think with this being his 30th year and with the limited roster right now, I definitely think we're going to see Kojima get some more shine, some more chances. He's probably going to be in New Japan Cup. Maybe he gets a G1 run. I'm not sure. But I definitely think he's going to be stepping up more this year.
My whole thing is, could he absolutely do a G1? Sure. It would be to the detriment of another talent, but I mean, it's still Satoshi Kojima, and he could definitely do it. He'd probably be excellent in it, and it'd be really good to see him have his send-off G1. As far as like a never push, well, he just had a shot. Well, I guess it wasn't. Yeah, it's funny because it's Kenta. I was thinking it was never, but I guess it's not. I really don't see him winning a never title. I could see him maybe challenging for one, but even if that happened, I think the circumstances would have to be like pretty auspicious. Like, I don't know, maybe in an off month when they're just trying to build a champion and give him, but and none of this is to besmirch Satoshi Kojima, but like Jeremy said, it's his 30th year. He's way past the time of getting tons of opportunities. I think he's a utility guy at this point, and he's excelling in that role. We're seeing that with this feud here with Will Ospreay, and I've also got to kind of apologize in the fact that I didn't see from day one when they did the stretcher job to Tenzan, that would probably be a ramification of him and Will Ospreay fighting one another. But, based on the backstage comments and everything, they've done a really good job building up this little feud. And, that's a great role for Kojima to be the first guy to kind of, look up at the lights for Will Ospreay in this new role.
Yeah, they're using Kojima perfectly right now. Yes, as a big Kojima fan, I would love to see one more G1 run. I would love to see a never challenge, but I think he's being utilized very well here, feuding with guys, getting some spotlight moments here.
Yeah. Did you see the Will Ospreay comment where he was like, "I'm not one of these guys. Oh, I know everything about Kojima and All Japan."
Yeah.
There was some heavy Kenny energy when he did that. Remember when Kenny was like, I've seen Kenny like cut like little promos and like behind the scenes like that too. I don't know.
Yeah, kind of making fun of the quote unquote internet nerds or people who know everything about wrestling.
Not even that, just the mannerisms and the like,
voice. Yeah.
Yeah, the voice. Like it almost seems like he's like ripping off Kenny's shitty backstage shit.
Next question here. Kevin from DC says the strangest thing happened at the 117 Corkin show. For whatever reason, B. Priestley was accompanying the rest of the United Empire to the ring, and then completely out of the blue, she threw a fireball into my man Satoshi Kojima's face. Oh wait, that was Alexa Bliss to Randy Orton last week on Raw. Never mind. Anyways, what are your general thoughts on Priestley's presence at ringside so far? A noteworthy evolution to New Japan, a sacrilegious attempt to integrate Joshi to New Japan, or no strong opinion either way. We're not getting the likes of Maria Kanellis versus Amber Gallows anytime soon. At least I feel confident about that.
I mean, this is not any. Well, the first thing I will say, it's not sacrilegious. I mean, God, why do I forget names? I do this on the air all the time.
I think Peter Miho Abe.
No, I'm going further back. What's Kensuke Suzuki's wife's name? She's like one of the greatest Joshis of all time. Like, anytime you're having that discussion, it's like, who do you like better, Manami Toyota or Akira Hokuto? I always say her name wrong too. Akira Hokuto, I think is it? Yeah, she used to Hokuto. That's right. She used to come out to ringside with Kensuke Suzuki, especially during big dome shows and stuff like that. So I mean, it's not the first time. And then, like we mentioned before, they've actually tried to integrate Joshi into New Japan on numerous occasions in the past. I mean, I started doing research, and I think I counted something like 50 women's matches in New Japan history total. I mean, it's hard. You got to find it. You got to do digging, but it's in cage match. You can find the shit. So I mean, just want to throw that out there. As far as B. Priestley goes, my opinion, I think that she's a great addition without being overbearing. Like, she actually fits a more similar role in some respects to how Brandy was with Cody in New Japan. Sort of like the heelish diva, because that's really not what Miho Abe or Peter are doing. Peter is like, eye candy, and Miho Abe is sort of like this sweet, sort of innocent, fangirl of Tai Chi. Like, they have a totally different dynamic, but like B. Priestley coming in, like, she is a wrestler, and she is vicious, and like, she will try to distract them, but she's not like making it about herself or anything like that. Like, I think she's been a welcome addition so far from what I've seen.
Yeah, I feel like her interference has been very subtle. They set it up really great. We kind of complain like about a lot about cheating and interference and how it's done. There's definitely a right way to do it and positioning the referee, and I think they've done a great job of doing that with her and setting her up in the right situations to come in, punch somebody real quick or choke somebody real quick.
And they did a good job of this back in England and the UK, in What Culture and, places like that. I think they might have even done the shtick a little bit in Rev Pro, if I recall, or not Rev Pro, in Progress, if I recall. But I mean, they've got some experience when it comes to Osprey and B sort of being a unit in a package. So I think that they have done really well, and it definitely, I think, enhances the heel package of Will Ospreay, which is what they're trying to do here. They're trying to present him in a completely different light and really get the unit over. And I think it gives them a different look. I think she's been really good, actually.
Yeah. So moving on to the next match, we had the Bullet Club team of El Phantasmo, Gato, Jado, and the Bone Soldier Taiji Ishimori defeating Suzuki-gun team of Doki, El Desperado, Minoru Suzuki, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. So obviously here we're previewing the upcoming junior tag title match that's coming up on the 23rd. We have El Phantasmo continuing the loaded boot gimmick. He's kicking people in the gut and stomping on them, and they are overselling the pain from that move and telling the ref to check his boot. So they're keeping that loaded boot gimmick going. Gato has looked dejected in these matches. He's not wearing Switchblade jacket or shirts anymore. Just wearing a regular Bullet Club shirt and jacket. Refusing to comment to Kevin Kelly.
It's because it's a work. And it's a great work too. It is so good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you guys are listening right now and are hoping that we are going to play along with this ruse. We're not going to. This is no cap zone. It's no flex zone. This is 100% of work. But I'm here for it. Like, they're doing an incredible job telling the story. And telling the story that this man is gone and no one knows what the future holds for him. And, I think it's very creative, very inventive, and I think it's captivating for almost the entirety of the audience, honestly.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I love that people are so invested in this and are getting work. I think it's awesome. We had a question here from Red User PCN91. What do you guys think about ELP's loaded boot gimmick? I love it, but I have been seeing some people hating on it and saying it doesn't belong in NJPW. I guess it helps that I love that kind of old school gimmick.
Oh, yeah, this doesn't belong in New Japan. New Japan has never had stuff like this. I mean, what are some other things that have happened in this company that didn't belong in it? There was a man that was carrying around Iron Claw and smacking people in the face with it. I didn't hear anyone being like, "Oh, this doesn't belong in New Japan." I remember when I remember like Onita, the great Nita, like bringing a freaking scythe around and slashing people with it. Like, come on, it's pro wrestling. Like, here's the thing: if there's an overabundance of stuff like this, sure, fine, let's light them up. And we've definitely had some, criticisms of the company over the past year, but this is an incredible gimmick. This guy, was out for all this time, quote unquote, couldn't work, couldn't train, couldn't wrestle, comes back. He needs a little bit of an edge. He finds a way, loads up the boot. He's been kicking the trees up in Canada.
Yep.
Been training his super foot. I think it's awesome. And and if people don't like it, then he's doing his job pretty well, because you're not supposed to like it, because he's a fucking cheater, Yeah,
and if people can get down with the garrote wire, I think it should get down with the loaded boot.
You know why I don't like the garrote wire? Do you know why I don't like the garrote wire specifically?
Why?
It's because if you really like wrapped a wire like that around someone's head, you could like literally decapitate them at worst, but at minimum you would like break their like vocal cords, and like, it's how they kill people in the mafia movies.
Right.
So like, to me, it's just, I can't really get down with that. But like a loaded boot, oh yeah, that makes total sense to me.
Yeah, it's very believable that he could put something in there that would make his kicks more effective. It's more realistic than Dick Togo coming out and potentially killing somebody with
Bro, I've worn steel toe shoes. Like, you could drop like a boulder on those things, they won't hurt you. So like, what if he's got steel tip toes in there or something like that, and that's what he's loading up? Like, I love it. And I think I like old school gimmicks like that too. And when done correctly and, not over abundantly, that stuff works. And I think it's working. I think they're telling a really good story. And ultimately, there probably will be a payoff with this, and that's the cool thing about it. It's not just something that's going to go on forever.
Yeah, and throughout the matches, we have been seeing the Zugun team trying to grab his foot, take the boot, and try to attack the foot and try and get their boot off to show that something's in there. So also that's going to be.
Private Party's on Impact right now.
Oh yeah.
just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I heard that tonight's Impact's supposed to be pretty good. A lot of crossover
That's interesting.
stuff. But yeah, so Loaded Boot's probably definitely going to play into the tag title match coming up. Either it's going to get revealed or he's going to use the boot to get the win, and then Despy and Kanemaru are going to have to find their way back into challenging and figuring out how to get the boot off. So yeah, definitely some great story elements here and mix some things up.
It's just funny how often people complain about what does or does not belong in New Japan. And it's like, okay, there are some things within reason, but like, some people act like this is like, 1992 Baba's All Japan Pro Wrestling,
Right.
When this company's never been that.
Right. And just with the existence of the Bullet Club for however many long and all the cheating and shenanigans that have happened there.
With the existence of Taguchi and Yano, just period.
Right. There's so many things you can point to that, like, quote unquote, shouldn't belong in New Japan, but it exists and it works.
They're like, oh, this DDT bullshit. Oh my god.
Then we had next matchup. We had the Chaos team of Goto, Okada, and Ishii defeating the Bullet Club team of Dick Togo, Evil, and Yujiro Takahashi. So here we've been seeing the kind of seeds being planted for Okada versus Evil. We've seen comments from Okada saying, he really needs to get the win back against Evil from New Japan Cup last year to really move forward. Evil has been ducking Okada and doesn't want the matchup here. So obviously, I feel like come Castle Attack, I feel this is probably going to be one of the big matchups that they're going to build to.
I'm reading ahead to this next question that we have, and I'm trying to understand who Delonte West is.
Yeah, I don't know who Delonte West is either.
I don't know. I'm reading some pretty sketchy stuff. Dan Coffin is I don't know, man. He's playing fast and loose with the rules here. He's lucky we're not Brian Alvarez. I think I might have to ban this man.
But yeah, so Dan asked, did Okada pull a Delonte West of Gato's mom or something? I can't think of any other explanation for Okada being stuck in a feud with Evil after he vanquished Will in arguably the best match at Wrestle Kingdom. When will this madness end?
I mean, Evil's a big star. Like, I don't want to see it, but like, we told y'all a long time ago that this man's not going anywhere. Like this, I think, how long do you think the Evil stuff, like Evil being pushed as a commodity, will continue? Over, under 4 years?
I will say under.
By how much?
Not by much. I could see maybe like the next 2 to 3 years.
I see at minimum like 2 to 3 years, maybe 4 years, he's still pushed as a top commodity. So like, I think people just got to get used to it,
Yeah, and obviously,
or not watch it, which is, the unfortunate side effect.
Yeah, but I think people knew that eventually Okada was going to get that win back from Evil from New Japan Cup from last year. So it doesn't really surprise me right now. Both these guys, they need something to do. They're both top guys. Also, again, like, I don't want to see the matchup. They've had good matches in the past when Evil's and LIJ. Hopefully, they can go that route and not what they did last year in New Japan Cup. But you need a program for both of these guys.
Yeah, I agree. I think it does make a lot of sense because from a booking standpoint, it is the holdover feud till we get to the New Japan Cup, which will, kind of be the next quarter reset for the calendar year for a lot of these different, characters and feuds. So, I mean, I don't know. this just kind of makes sense to me. What alternative do you think they could have had for Okada as opposed to putting him into a feud with Evil right now?
I mean, there's not much. With the roster still being limited, you had some Gaijins going back home. I mean, you have Tanahashi's tied up with Shingo. Ibushi's tied up with Sonata. I mean, Naito's not doing anything. I guess you could, but I mean, there's still big money in Okada Naito. You're not going to throw that away at New Beginning. I guess you could do it at Castle Attack since it's in Osaka Joe Hall. But still, I think that's more of a Dominion Wrestle Kingdom match you still want to throw away.
I mean, the only other thing that might have made sense was, like, to me, maybe Jay White, but obviously they've got him wrapped up in his own story. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of what you had to do.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I think, like we mentioned, Okada's getting his win back. So, I mean, that's the story here.
Yeah. And he's not going to face anybody in Chaos. All the titles are kind of tied up right now. There's no.
Although maybe this is a way to heat up Evil before the New Japan Cup. I don't know. Especially with the story coming up with, potential return of Jay White and all that. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, you could have Evil win this match, and then they face off again, first round New Japan Cup, and Okada gets a win and knocks Evil out. It's a big, quote-unquote, big upset.
Possibly. Yeah. You could have Evil go back to back to back. That's the kind of booking that Gato likes to do. 1, 2, 3.
We had a question here from EMJ Does PR. Says, so the money clip is still around, still finishing fights. Is this weird story still a thing, or is the Rainmaker a pay-per-view move now?
I mean, well, I obviously I hate the freaking money clip, and I think it's a really elaborate, like, troll job. But in its defense, we complained for a long time about how the Rainmaker had kind of become bastardized. There was a time where, like, if you got hit with that thing, you weren't kicking out. I remember, like, it was a big deal. Tanahashi was the first and only guy to ever kick out of it. And then, like, Naito, and then, like, and so on and so forth.
Everybody.
And then it got to,
So then everybody started doing it.
Right. And then, like, in the big matches, it took 2, 3, 4 of them to put guys away. And that's supposed to be his big move. So what way can you rebuild credibility in the move? Well, I guess you could try to do what WWE did with, I don't know if you guys remember this, but they tried with Brock Lesnar a few years back, where he just put everyone away with the F5 with just one F5. But they did it after years of him hitting 3, 4, 5 F5s on guys. And so it was just so sudden and out of the blue. And I think that what New Japan might be trying to do to rehab the maneuver and get it back over is use a lesser move, try to get that over. No, it's not going to be over. That way, when he uses the move that everyone's actually pining for, and it puts people away, it's, like, more believable. And at this point, I mean, I don't know. I guess, like, Okada's kind of in that unique place in his career where he can do screwy stuff like that and kind of be fine.
Yeah. Like I'm not a big fan of Money Clip either, but at this point, I'm kind of used to it. Like, it's just part of the match now. Like, it's going to happen.
It's shit. I'm going to complain about it until it gets better, just like we complained for so long about the butterfly lock until it got better, He's got to do something different with that shit eventually, because it sucks. It really sucks.
Yeah, I mean, there's some instances where it works out, but overall, yeah, it's still, in my opinion, it needs some work, and definitely it just brings the match to a halt, and it kills momentum. But moving on to the next matchup here, semi-main event, we had Sonata, Shingo, and Naito defeating Tanahashi, Kota Ibushi, and Tomioka Hanma. So again, previewing Sonata, Ibushi, Shingo, Tanahashi. You find it weird that the double champion has been in the semi-mains for all these shows?
I guess, but not really, because I think that this is just the lead up to the Hiroshima show, which is going to be headlined by Tanahashi and Shingo. I think once we get to the what's the other New Beginning in Sendai?
I think so, yeah.
Or wherever it is. I think once we get to that portion of the tour, they'll probably be having
So
Ibushi
it's
and Sonata.
so the first one's Nagoya, and then 2 nights at
Nagoya.
Hiroshima.
Okay. Yeah, I think that they're just headlining the big match for this, Nagoya match. And then when the rest of the tour continues, I'm assuming they're going to be having like Ibushi and Sonata headline. Maybe I'm wrong on that. That's what I was thinking, though.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Uh, and the other thing too, very interesting thing, Sonata, Shingo, Naito. I mean, that's a dream team if there ever was one. So I mean, I can't imagine that team taking any pinfall losses to any combination that they have here, especially when Hanma's on the other end, which is pretty traditional booking in the New Japan sense because they want to make the challenger look as strong as possible.
Yeah. Hanma was looking pretty rough in these matches here. He took a very sloppy Destino. I'm not sure if it was this match or the second night, but it did not look good.
I mean, it is what it is. There have been times, his performances here might not have been the best, and who knows what we're going to get out of Hama going forward. But, I mean, we know the issues he's had. We know the rehab and everything like that. And I mean, I'll take this version of Hanma over what we had when he first came back from injury, any day of the week.
Yeah. This question here from Rambo and Slam Pig says, Shingo vs. Tanahashi is happening. Go ahead and take your victory lap. This is my most anticipated match of the New Beginning tour. What are your expectations? Do we see a title change, or does Tanahashi put over Shingo while looking brilliant in defeat?
Who's that a victory lap for? Was that me or you or us collectively? I don't even really remember.
Well, I know initially after Power Struggle, people were asking what should Tanahashi do at the Dome, and I was like, I think he should face Shingo for the Never title. And I think later on after that, you were like, yeah, Tanahashi and Shingo would be a great Never match. So we can both take a victory lap here.
So I'm looking at the cards going down the line here in the future, and it looks like the last 2 nights of the tour, Sonata and Ibushi are in tag matches against one another. But the 2 nights leading up to that, they've got those 10-man elimination tags in the main event. They're not involved in those.
Gotcha.
So it looks like they're kind of like putting them in the semi-main event spot for the majority of the tour, and then the last 2 nights they'll put them in high stakes, tag team matches.
Gotcha. But yeah, I'm super pumped for Shingo and Tanahashi based off of the interactions they've had in these last 3 nights. Like, I already know the match is going to be incredible. Like, their chemistry is off the roof. Like, the sequences and encounters that they're doing in these multi-mans have been great. So just imagine what they're going to do one-on-one.
There's a part of me too that's just like, there's a time and place where this match just seemed like it could never possibly happen, given the affiliations that these two guys had with Dragon Gate and New Japan respectively. But I think it's like sort of a dream match that people always sort of like speculated about, just like that it would be cool to see it. And now that it's actually coming to fruition is really, really incredible. I don't know if I wouldn't say I could take a victory lap on this because I don't feel like I predicted it, but we've been asking for it for a long time, ever since we first started seeing these guys in multi-man matches. I know we saw it during the World Tag League, but I feel like even like earlier in the year we saw them in I don't even remember, but there was a multi-man match where we saw them, and it was like, oh shoot, like I really, really want to see this. So, I'm really, really, really excited.
Yeah, and also we'll save our final predictions when we do the preview show going into that New Beginning show. But I think
that's a good call.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting outcome regardless of which way that match ends up going.
After that, we got Wato and Sho defeating the LIJ team of Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi in the main event.
Yeah, big main event here. Juniors in the main event here.
New Japan main eventer, Master Wato. This man, he's main eventing a lot of these shows.
Yeah, man, he's racking up the main event wins here, main event spots, I should say. And yeah, so pretty good main event here. I thought Wato looked pretty good in this match. Obviously, this match is set up the Wato Bushi match that's coming up on the 23rd, and then the big junior title match with Sho challenging Hiromu Takahashi. Their interactions looked great as well. So really looking forward to that Hiromu Sho matchup. We did have a question here from Marita Donovan 101. Is it me, or does it feel like the Sho and Master Wato is a oddball pairing that could work well together if they ever put together as a team?
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, I feel like they've been fine. I haven't seen anything personally that I thought like was super impressive, but I mean, both of them have a background in Mexico. Both of them came from the Young Lion system. So I don't see why not.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with Yo's still out and with the lack of junior tag teams at the end, with them being, well, actually, Wacho's not in Chaos, is he? Yeah, he's
he's Hantai, but obviously at this point it's like
they're the same.
What's the difference?
Right. So yeah, with Yo being out, Rocky having to be in the States, Wato's a good kind of stand-in person to team with Sho in matches like these, or down the road if they need to pull out a junior tag challenger, you could do Sho and Wato. But yeah, I thought they've been a fine team so far.
Next question, he said, so who do you guys got in the eventual matches between Naito and Hanma and Doki and Jado at Castle Attack?
Yeah, so Naito obviously has been seeming to have an issue with Hanma. Some of the matches even, attacking him after the match and definitely attacking the injured neck during the match and stuff like that. So, yeah, maybe it's, Naito, it's going to give Hanma, one little last big match here.
I guess. I mean, that seems like a pretty strange thing to do at Castle Attack. I mean, I guess I'd be fine with it, but I don't know. It's always strange when you have like a prolific champion. We've seen it in the past with Tanahashi, seen it with Okada. Guys have had long, lengthy reigns, and then you kind of move them out of that spot, and you have to ask yourself, well, what do we do with them next?
Right.
So that would be interesting. I mean, do you think that Naito and Hanma that's actually happening at Castle Attack?
No, I think he's joking. I think that's not happening. No way. But
we're still kind of wondering what Naito's direction is.
Right. And if he's not in a singles match, I'm guessing there would be some kind of LIJ multi-man that he's in. But yeah, I think the guy set somebody up for Naito.
I have no desire to see Doki and Jado anywhere, anytime, ever, for any reason.
I don't know, man. That could be the front runner for match of the year 2021.
Let's move on to night 2, the 18th.
So once again, United Empire, Great Okan, Will Ospreay defeating Satoshi Kojima and Yuya Uemura. Question from Viking Pain says, why is it that Oka has come out of the gates looking like a star while Kawato has only succeeded in becoming a meme? Is it a confidence issue, gimmick problems?
Yeah, I completely think that's a huge part of it. I mean, when they were Young Lions, Kawato was definitely seen as being like probably the head of his class, but part of that was due to the when they both left for Excursion, like Kawato had been in the Young Lion system for a longer period of time, and a lot of his support was based off the fact that he was sort of seen as like an underdog, a plucky underdog, kind of lovable goof that people kind of got behind, But on the flip side, you had Oka, who's always been a badass, has always come off as a badass. You kind of compare and contrast their two excursions. While Oka had his share of troubles, he overcame every single time and had an excursion that could be explained as nothing less than successful. And you can't say the same thing about Kawato over there in CMLL and in Mexico. And look at the characters, look at the gimmicks, look at their presence, their promo ability, and the work. And they're complete. You can tell the difference. It's night and day between the two of them.
Right, and even in the way that they were slotted, you can tell. I mean, Master Wato made his debut by getting jumped by Doki, who's literally the lowest guy in the totem pole in New Japan. Then you have Okan coming in. He's attacking Okada. He's being put with Will Ospreay. Like, clearly, the company already saw them in two different positions as they came in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's bearing out that way. And something significant is going to have to change. If Kawato is looking to be seen in a more favorable light.
Yeah. So next matchup, we had Sugun, Doki, El Dorado, Minoru Suzuki, Yoshinobu Kanemaru. They defeated the Bullet Club team of Phantasmo, Gato, Jado, and Taiji Ishimori. These kind of heel versus heel matches have been very fun. These guys kind of jumping each other and trying to out heal each other. And again, the continuation of Phantasmo using his loaded boot. Question here from Reddit user Asayo Jimbo: if you're driving at the speed of light and you turn your lights on, do they do anything? Joke aside, what do you think is going to happen with Suzuki-gun? We're down to 6 members and a rather ambiguous future for Suzuki himself, despite at least 4 of them having regular title contention of some kind.
Why did you no sell that man's joke like that? Were you just reading it, not realizing it was a joke, or?
I read it, but I gotta know.
What was his question?
What do you think is going to happen with Suzuki-gun? We're down to 6 members and a rather ambiguous future for Suzuki himself, despite at least 4 of them having regular title contention of some kind.
Honestly, I think that they're sort of like bordering that like tweener role.
Yeah, we've seen that kind of with Dangerous Tekkers kind of starting out with Tai Chi and Sabre kind of working that tweener role in the feud against GOD. And now, with Suzuki-gun and Bullet Club kind of feuding against each other, they're kind of, I would say Suzuki-gun's more of the baby faces in this match, even though obviously you still have Doki using the pipe in the match. You got Suzuki breaking the rules, and they're definitely still rule breakers, but I feel like there's more sympathy behind Suzuki with them keep getting screwed over with the loaded boot and God stealing the iron fingers. There's a lot like that's been going against them right now.
I mean, for me, it's sort of like I'm just kind of reading the tea leaves and I'm looking at the landscape. And I mean, you've got at least 2 major heel factions, and with whatever's going to happen with Bullet Club, I could maybe even see potentially a splintering and maybe a possible third down the line. And that kind of puts Suzuki-gun right in the, right in the scope of, well, what do you do with them at that point? If you've got, strong established heel groups, I don't think we see them go the way of Chaos and become full-fledged, baby faces with some heel leanings. I think they'll always be somewhat maniacal, sort of characters, but I could see them lending themselves more to being a tweener group down the road for sure.
Yeah. So next matchup, we had Goto, Okada, and Yoshihashi defeating Bullet Club team of Dick Togo, Evil, and Yuro Takahashi. So continuing to set up the Okada Evil feud there. Then in the semi-main event, we had the LIJ team of Hiromu, Sanada, and Naito defeating Kota Ibushi, Sho, and Tomioka Hanma. Question from Reddit user Dino Boy: do you see Naito rematching Ibushi for the double title in the coming months?
No, not necessarily. I really don't, actually. And it's not usual that we see a quick rematch when there's a title turnover like that. I mean, I can't really think of one recently.
Well, I mean, the Naito Evil stuff, there's been a lot of rematches and quick turnover there.
I guess that's true. I was thinking more of like legitimate. Yeah.
Yeah, and because too, there's such a limited roster still, they can't bring in a lot of guys. They can't bring in like a big star to come and challenge Ibushi from the outside or anything like that. I potentially could, Castle Attack is in Osaka Joe Hall. They need a big main event for that show. I could see them running back Ibushi Naito for that card.
Yeah, that might make sense for Invasion. For Castle Attack, possibly. It's also weird because I keep forgetting about Castle Attack, and so I'm thinking like we're at New Beginning. New Japan Cup is coming next, so obviously not. But once you mention, yeah, we get that February Castle Attack, that does kind of throw a kink in the works. I'm guessing somebody, provided Ibushi wins, someone's gonna have to challenge. So why not Naito? That does kind of make sense. So I mean, maybe that's where they're going. We're talking about Naito not having a clear direction just yet. I think that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, and he has been in a lot of these multi-mans with Ibushi, even though also the focus is on Sonata and Ibushi, but Naito's still been in the mix there. So you could easily have, Naito walk out after Ibushi beats Sonata at New Beginning and then challenge Ibushi for Castle Attack.
One thing, too, is when is the anniversary show? I think that's in March. Is that after the Castle Attack or whatever?
Yeah, that's after Castle Attack and Budokan in the beginning of March.
Okay. I'm just wondering because I'm thinking like of, Hiromu potentially against Ibushi. I mean, maybe there's a little story here of Naito going up against LIJ members, in the first part of the year here.
Yeah, you definitely could do that. Next question here from Razor Dirty Bubble. With one of the belts Ibushi hasn't held in New Japan during the Never Six Man, being the Never Six Man. My question is, when are we going to see Ibushi face his strongest competitor yet in Yoshihashi?
That's funny. People keep asking questions about Yoshihashi and Ibushi.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm missing there. I don't really feel like they've had many interactions.
Well, today my girlfriend said she needed to come on the podcast and explain to everybody how Taichi should be the real double champ.
Oh man!
And as you can see, she's not on the show. So,
moving on to the main event, we had Hiroshi Tanahashi teaming up with Master Wato to defeat the LIJ team of Bushi and Shingo Takagi. Wato getting the big win here over Bushi. Bushi was very confident going into this feud because he had pinned Wato at Dash and thinking he was going to have an easy win against Wato. But Wato getting the big win here, proving that he can beat Bushi and that Bushi should not take him lightly.
I mean, yeah. I'm not that interested in a Bushi Wato match. We spoke about it in the past. Why? Because I mean, Wato has his known struggles in the ring, and then, for me, Bushi's he's just fine as a competitor, and I've never known him to be a guy that could carry anybody to anything, significant. So I don't have a lot of faith or investment in this story, but I think for people that are coming around on Wato, they probably are a lot more invested than I am, I guess.
Yeah. Question here from Razor. Why did you do that, bro? Why do Master Wato and Bushi have to main event every Road 2 show? They don't even have a title involved in their feud, if you can even call it that.
Yeah, I agree. I think they are trying to make good on Wato. I mean, we've talked about it in the past that like they've made quite an attempt to give him every opportunity that they could afford him. I mean, he had a lot of big match opportunities in the New Japan Cup, in the Best of Super Juniors. He's had a prominent role in other tours, like when they were doing the 6-man Never Openweight tournament, the junior tag team title tournament, major singles matches on most of the big, pay-per-views earlier in the year. So I mean, it's not like they're not trying with Wato. Like they're giving him a lot of leeway, a lot of rope, and I think this is just another example of that. Here's the thing: this is, in my estimation, is probably a big test because Bushi is not a guy who carries people, like we've mentioned, but he is a completely passable and competent hand in the ring. Like if you can't have a good match with him, there is something wrong with you. You should at least be able to get to that 3.25, 3.5 star range with him pretty easily. So I think they're putting him in there with a guy that's pretty experienced, but who's not known to be like an elevator. So it's sort of like Watto has to elevate himself and show what he's made of. Otherwise, I don't know how long they're going to keep giving him all these opportunities. Like we've talked about, it's been almost a year now.
Yeah. And I think, too, putting him in the main events, teaming up with guys like Tanahashi and Sho, who are just excellent performers, I think this is a great experience for him and just a great more learning experience for him and just a way for him to just kind of, pick up some skills from those guys.
That's true, and I totally agree with that. But keep in mind, I mean, those are the same guys he was teaming with before he left for Mexico.
That's true, yeah.
So I mean, he's been around them for quite a while already. But yeah, I think it puts him, in a good spot. Just the fact that he is in a main event, that people in Corkin are kind of seeing him as a. They're not seeing him as a main eventer, but they are seeing him as like a guy that's, associated with these other top Hantai acts, which I think is a benefit to him. So,
yeah. Question from Rambone Slam Pig. Do you know why Gino Gambino hasn't been on commentary recently? I would think it would be harder for Kevin Kelly to get to Japan from America given our COVID situation.
I don't think it's harder because he left before the state of emergency and did the quarantining. And I mean, I think for a lot of people, I mean, Gino is what, in Australia?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't assume to know, but I think they've been pretty restrictive. So, I mean, and then who knows? Like, there's also the fact that, like, Gino is probably the least senior of all the commentary guys that are there,
Yeah.
I'm not saying in terms of his talent or skill or anything like that. I'm just talking about tenure. I mean, he's been actually calling New Japan for less time than Rocky or Chris or any of the other regular guys. So, maybe they're not as fully invested in involving him right now.
Yeah, and I think too right now with Kevin being there live, I think it'll probably be a technical nightmare having Kevin live and Gino being, Skyped in or whatever.
Well, and the other thing too is we don't know what the plans were going to be. Like, Kevin, we know Kevin was going to stay on for quite a while, and that was always the plan. But maybe the plan, let's say it was to bring in Gino, but then the state of emergency did happen, and those plans got scrapped. That's a possibility. So maybe that's why.
Yeah. Next question from Kevin from DC says, your weekly evil question has been taken over by your weekly Master Watto question. 3 shows into the tour, and Watto's been featured in 3 main events. Do you see this as an opportunity for the wrestler to grow and adapt his style into a more prominent role, or are you getting sick of the soon-to-be Grandmaster taking part in these matches?
I'm perfectly fine with it because these are just Road to shows, and, you kind of know what you're getting there. Like, you're getting some sort of tag team stipulated match. And if it wasn't going to be Watto, it was going to be Hanma or Tenzan or some other Hantai member. And at least with this, it's a young guy on the roster who needs the reps, who needs the experience. And do I have faith in him? No. Like, at this point, I really don't. But, there is the benefit that there is a bit of a feud that's also ongoing that's going to get a little bit of a payoff here too. So at least there's some stakes involved with what he's doing.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I have no problem with him being here in these main events. I think at this point, it's sink or swim for him. Like, you got to throw him out there and see if he can succeed.
Right.
And so I don't have a problem with that. Like you mentioned, Road 2 shows. A little mini feud that they're doing here with Bushi. And I think, it's going to be a good experience for him to be in these main events. And I think, teaming with a Tanahashi, I think that's a confident booster right there. Going to do the show closing, guitar playing with Tanahashi. I think that's definitely kind of a big moment, something that could kind of boost his confidence and kind of give him some swagger going into these matches here.
Yep, I agree.
Also, we had a new young lion debuting on these shows. I had a question from EMJ. Does PR any intel on the new young lion? Tsuji's got to be on his way out soon.
Well, I don't know why it would be assumed that Tsuji would be the first guy. I mean, it could just as easily be Uemura. They debuted at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm actually guessing that with Gabriel Kidd going back to America and there not being any other Young Lions except for those two guys, it's probably high time that they debuted somebody else. So I think we're right primed for one, maybe two. I don't even know who they've got. And let's just answer the question. No, I don't know anything about the new Young Lion. I'm sure you don't either.
No. Yeah. So, yeah.
But it makes sense that they're prepping and getting ready to bring in new guys because it's right about that time in the cycle.
Yeah, Tsuji and Uemura, they're both of those guys are ready, I think, right now to go on excursion. I don't know where they're going to go during the pandemic, but whenever they do,
they can go work DDT.
Yeah, they could work other Japan promotions.
Go work Big Japan. Go work 8 or 2AW.
Just tap out.
Just tap out. Yeah. Plenty of places.
But yeah, they definitely need to kind of restock the Young Lions there with
Freedoms.
Yeah.
Go have death matches. They're gonna send one of their young lions to Jun Kasai. He's just gonna get like all scarred up. He's gonna come back like just cut up everywhere.
Get their jaw broke.
Yeah.
Remember at one point Regal's son was a young lion or was like there for a little bit?
Yeah, I remember him being there, but we never saw him wrestle.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened with him. I wonder if he's been in dojo or what's going on there.
Uncle Paul found out and was like, "What the heck? Bring that kid to the PC."
Oh man. So then we have the night 30 of the Road to New Beginning tour that happened today, January 19th. Had United Empire, Great Khan Ospreay defeating Kojima and Yota Tsuji. Again, building up this feud here with Empire and Kenkoji.
Yeah, and one thing I like to throw on that is, everyone was like, oh, these guys lost all of their big matches at the Tokyo Dome. They're just, geeks and losers. And we're like, yeah, they're going to heat them back up. And what are they doing? This whole tour, they're winning all their matches in dominant fashion. And yeah, sure, it's against Kojima and Young Lions, but like, you see what they're doing. You see what they're gearing them up for. Like, so I think we were right on, target when we kind of predicted how they're going to handle this.
Yeah. Then we had Phantasmo, Gato, Jado, and Taiji defeating Doki, Desperado, Suzuki, and Kanemaru. Once again, Doki falls to the loaded boot, the super kick from Phantasmo. So again, we're seeing how deadly that super kick of Phantasmo is.
Yep.
Then we had Dick Togo, Evil, and Yujiro defeating Goto, Okada, and Yoshihashi. Again, just continuing to plant the seeds there for Evil versus Okada. Then in the semi-main, we had Sonata and Naito defeating Kota Ibushi and Hanma. Again, focusing on Ibushi and Sonata for the double title match, and apparently Naito's hatred for Hanma. And then in the main event, we had Bushi, Hiromu, and Shingo defeating Tanahashi, Master Wato, and Sho. So again, setting up all those big feuds coming up here.
Yeah, and I haven't expressed it yet. Hiromu and Sho, the rematch, gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see that as well.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. Shingo and Tanahashi is gonna be great.
Well, looks like we've got 4 big Road 2 shows coming up here over the next week. On Thursday, January 21st, we have Kota Ibushi, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Tomoaki Hanma, Sho, and Master Wato. That's the main event?
Yeah, so these are in from top to bottom.
All right, let me read it the other way then. Yuji Nagata and Tiger Mask will be taking on Togi Makabe and Yota Tsuji. Second match of the night, Kojima and Yuya Uemura taking on Will Ospreay and the Great Khan. Third match of the night, Minoru Suzuki, Desperado, Kanemaru, and Doki taking on Taiji Ishimori, El Phantasmo, Gato, and Jado. Semi-main event, Okada, Goto, and Ishii taking on Evil, Yujiro Takahashi, and Dick Togo. And then the main event, is this just a regular 10-man or an elimination?
It's a regular.
Okay, we got Ibushi, Tanahashi, Hanma, Sho, and Wato against Sonata, Shingo, Naito, Hiromu, and Bushi. That actually sounds like a pretty great main event for a Road 2 show.
Yeah. Then we have Saturday's Road 2 show, January 23rd. It's going to be a pretty, probably one of the bigger Road 2 shows. Opening up with Suzuki and Doki against Gato and Jado. Then Okada, Ishii, and Yoshihashi taking on Evil, Yujiro, and Dick Togo. Tenzan makes his return here, so we have Tenkoji, Tenzan, and Kojima taking on the United Empire of Ospreay and Great Okan.
That's definitely a match you can kind of sink your teeth into, given everything that's happened.
Yeah. Then the semi-main, we have the Josh Smith special here, the elimination match with Ibushi, Tanahashi, Hanma, Sho, and Wato against Sanada, Shingo, Naito, Hiromu, and Bushi. And then the main event, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles will be on the line as El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru defend against the Bone Soldier Taiji Ishimori and the Headbanger El Phantasmo. Can Suzuki-gun find an answer to the loaded boot? We will find out on Saturday.
Yeah, those top 3 matches are all very intriguing. That's that card looks good.
And
Sunday,
before you go on to Sunday, that's one thing we forgot to mention. Phantasmo, he was on commentary a little bit on today's show, just talking about once again how he was training for 9 months, training the super kick, and he said New Japan fans they're used to seeing 15, 20 super kicks. Some weak super kicks not ending a match, but now they're seeing what a real super kick can do.
Sunday, January 24th, we have the opening match, Suzuki, Desperado, Kanemaru, and Doki taking on Togi Makabe, Yuji Nagata, Tiger Mask, and Yuya Uemura. Second match of the night, Tenzan and Kojima taking on Will Ospreay and Great Okan, so a rematch of the night before. Third match of the night, Okada, Goto, Yoshihashi taking on Evil, Yujiro, and Dick Togo. Semi-main event, Naito and Hiromu Takahashi taking on Sho and Tomoaki Hanma. And then the main event, Kota Ibushi and Tanahashi and Master Wato versus Sanada, Shingo, and Bushi.
And then the last Road 2 that will happen before we record again will be Monday, January 25th, opening up with Ishimori, Phantasmo, Gato, and Jado against Makabe, Nagata, Tiger Mask, and Tsuji. Tenkoji, once again, will be taking on Ospreay and Great Okan. Then you have Okada, Goto, and Ishii taking on Evil, Yujiro, and Dick Togo. In the semi-main, Naito and Bushi against Hanma and Wato. And then the main event will be Golden Ace and Sho taking on Sanada, Shingo, and Hiromu.
All right, awesome. So some really good stuff on the Road to New Beginning. This past Friday, New Japan Strong, we had the last Road to Lions Break Contender episode leading into next week, which will be the actual first episode of Lions Break Contender. On the show, we had a match between Mysterioso defeating Barrett Brown, 7 minutes, 55 seconds. Second match of the night, TJP defeated Adrian Quest, 8 minutes and 21 seconds. And then the main event, the Bullet Club team of El Phantasmo, Hikuleo, and Kenta defeated ACH, Blake Christian, and Fred Rosser. I watched this show, and it was strong as usual. After, a really, really great episode last week, as I praised it, good wrestling, big surprises, great promos, good storylines, debuts, everything. This was just a regular ass wrestling show.
Yeah, there was nothing really stand out on the show, but I did like the matches here. I thought all the matches were pretty solid here.
Well, they're always solid on Strong.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're always good.
Yeah, and then we're starting to see, also the loaded boot gimmick kind of bleeding over here with Phantasmo. Last week was definitely more excited, but looking at what's coming up the next 2 weeks, there's some matches that I have my eyes on here. So this coming up Friday, January 22nd, we have Ren Narita making his strong debut, taking on Bateman, making his strong debut from Ring of Honor. That should be a fun match. And we have Brody King taking on J.R. Kratos, which that should be a Hoss battle right there. And then Jordan Clearwater and Kevin Knight taking on the Regal Twins. Then the following week on the 29th, we will have the strong debut of Leo Rush as he teams with Fred Rosser and TJP to take on Kento, Phantasmo, and Hikuleo. And also they're building a feud there between Leo Rush and Phantasmo based on what happened from the Super J Cup. Then we'll have Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson taking on Rocky Romero.
That looks good.
Yeah, that's going to be...
Yeah, definitely. I'll give him another chance. I mean, they're calling it a Road 2 show, so I'm going to treat it as if it's a Road 2 show. But we'll see if they deliver the goods the next 2 weeks, which, on paper, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, and then on the opening of that one, you'll have Clark Connors taking on DKC, who's now officially a young lion in the LA dojo.
Nice.
Then we had a question here from Oscar Rooney. He says, if you had to take one wrestler from Strong and add to a faction in Japan, who and where would they be?
So I misunderstood this question. So they don't want us to add someone to every single faction, just one person and add them to one faction.
Yeah.
Okay. I have someone in mind that I think is a good fit, but then I'm also kind of thinking like, where could we make the most impact? I don't know, Jeremy. What are you thinking?
Initially, I would thinking about taking Chris Dickinson and add him to Suzuki-gun.
That's immediately where my mind goes. I think that's the most natural and kind of logical fit that there could possibly be. I think that makes all the sense in the world. On the other hand, I'm also kind of thinking of like, no offense to Chris in any way at all, because he's awesome. But I'm also kind of thinking of like, if I'm trying to make the most impact, maybe I bring in Brody King, or maybe I bring in like, Carl Fredericks. But I don't know as readily where I would fit them in necessarily, Right.
I feel for Brody, I feel like he would kind of fit in Bullet Club, but there's already so many big monster guys there with Fale and Hikuleo. I don't know if he would, that would be the right faction for him.
There's also the fact that there's this United Empire that kind of creates a little bit of a kind of a little bit more wiggle room, because that's a less defined group in general, so maybe you could fit one of these guys into that group.
I think TJP could have fit in the Empire.
Sure you do. I can make some guesses as to why you think you would fit in with that crew. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Leo Rush is another guy that I think could be good in the Empire also.
I was thinking of Leo Rush or even ACH, maybe not for them specifically, but just possibly coming over.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I feel like you almost have to like sort of force any connection that you make with most of these guys. Whereas like Chris Dickinson, I think he fits right into Suzuki-gun like that,
Right.
Yeah, I wish they would bring over Chris Dickinson. Like, I think he's the fucking man. So
yeah, he's awesome. So yeah, hopefully, I mean, there's a handful of guys here from Strong that I want to see make their way over to Japan this year. So hopefully things will be, looking better towards the end of this year. We can get some of these guys like Dickinson and Brody and Leo Rush, in Japan.
That's a great question, though. We got some news items here.
Yeah, so, we kind of touched on Jay White earlier with Gato kind of being dejected, no longer wearing the Jay White shirt, the Jay White jacket. Kevin Kelly's asking him for a question. He's like, no comment. And now, Jay White's profile has been removed from the site this week.
With a caveat, though.
Yeah, they updated it first and then removed it.
Yeah, it said it had like an official thing that said like, if he decides, then blah blah blah. Like, so there's sort of like a little bit of a disclaimer there.
Yeah, so obviously New Japan's doing an excellent job just doing these little things to really play into, is Jay gone or is he not? Storyline they're doing here. Obviously, we're in the camp. We think it's a full-on work. And I think removing him from the website was a great way to continue it.
Nice.
Then we've had some beef going on here with Handsome Tama. A couple of different things came out. One thing that came out today, Michael Elgin, an interview came out with him talking about not wanting to go back to New Japan because Tama Tonga is a unsafe worker, and talking about some unsafe chair shots, and somebody found the video of the chair shots in question. Tama Tonga responded saying that his chair shots with a plastic chair were not the issue. It was Elgin lying to New Japan and taking bookings for other shows and not letting New Japan know. So they've been kind of beefing back and forth on Twitter. Any thoughts on the Tama Elgin situation here?
I mean, I will say I saw the video of the chair shots, and I mean, I don't know if you're Tama Tonga and you have to sort of like speak on it publicly. I don't know what you say, because I think it's pretty clear he was fucking the dude's elbow up. I mean, I've never hit anyone with the chair or even like practiced with it, but I just gotta imagine that you're trying to land your shots in the safest place possible, which would be like the flat of the back or maybe like the broad part of the shoulder. But those ones were hitting the guy in the elbow, and he did it a few times. I don't think it was intentional, or at least didn't seem that way. But so will I call? I wouldn't. Now I know that he used the term like unsafe chair shots, but I'm like, what chair shots have you ever seen that are safe?
Right.
Like that's a ridiculous sounding statement. His unsafe chair shots. Like, granted, yeah, there's an art to it, but I mean, when the guy's hitting you with the chair, you're kind of just putting your trust in them and hoping for the best, knowing that it's going to be painful, and that I mean, metal to skin and bone is never going to work out well for you.
Yeah. And also, Tama had some comments about the quote unquote Bullet Club reunion happening in AEW. Not very happy about that. Talking about that on Tama's Island. Also, talking about how can there be a Bullet Club reunion when the Bullet Club is still going. Calling Anderson Gallows sellouts again for the second time in a row. And definitely does not seem to be down with Kenny and the Good Brothers using the Too Sweet and quote unquote claiming to be like a Bullet Club reunion.
I mean, I don't know. It's stupid. Like, on the one hand, like, I don't know. I think I've always sort of had a somewhat of an issue. How do I explain this? I think that there's a problem in the world today, Jeremy, where when people are on one side of an argument ideologically, they're unwilling to relent in any way to the other side's argument for fear that it invalidates what they're saying. But I think that when you're willing to just be real and like admit the pros and the cons of an issue, you make yourself more credible. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I'll hear these people that are like diehard AEW fans or that are like diehard Elite fans, and they'll shit all over the Bullet Club that exists in New Japan today. And, they'll call their guys the real Bullet Club, and there'll be some truth to it. But then, they also won't admit that these guys pretty much gained most of their credibility off of a brand that was built before they got there, and then they paid very little back into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's the truth. I think the Bucks and Kenny and them, and I'm not one of these guys that hates them. I like them. I'm fans of theirs, but I see what they did. Like, they piggyback, and maybe they're just really smart businessmen, but I think people need to like be real about the situation. On the other hand, I think a lot of fans who are these diehard New Japan fans or fans that hate AEW or hate the Elite, they're like, they're not the real Bullet Club. The real Bullet Club is over here. And I'm like, well, that is true, I guess, from a trademark standpoint. But like, there's also no denying that that brand was never more popular or never meant as much as it did when those guys were at the head of it. And like, that's just the truth, regardless of how you personally feel about it. And I don't know what Tama should or shouldn't say, because it almost, I don't know, in one respect, it's like if he talks on it, I don't know, he comes off sounding kind of like petty and jealous. But on the other hand, like if he doesn't, like, you're kind of like burying your head in the sand. I don't really know what the proper response to it is,
Yeah, I mean, I think for him, it's probably a good thing to respond on it. Also, it's a very hot topic right now. It's one of the hottest angles going in wrestling right now. So you can try and get some buzz and turn that towards your way and towards New Japan, and even tease the fact of, people still want this Forbidden Door open. Tease the fact of a potential, Bullet Club versus Elite or Bullet Club versus Kenny and Good Brothers kind of thing. Probably won't happen, but just to keep that spark going.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of cool, like, to keep your name in the mix and to, like, put that out there. You're sort of working your own angle, but at the end of the day, it's not going to happen. The angle's not really going to come to fruition, and what you're any kind of like attention that you're drawing is going to be pretty minimal in respect to what they're actually doing between Impact and AEW. You kind of look like the small fish between the two big guys, even though in reality New Japan is a big player. It doesn't make them look like a big player in my book when it's kind of done that way. So I don't know, but who knows? Maybe down the line there will be something, and they can circle back to this. I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't know that Tama should be the only ones. Like if it was to be taken seriously, like maybe like Evil or Ghetto, or I don't even know if they have social media, but like maybe like he shouldn't be the only one saying something about it. Maybe Fale should be saying something about it. I don't know,
Yeah, get kind of the whole club involved. But yeah,
it doesn't even have to be like a whole statement, but maybe just like a backhanded comment here or there or something, I don't know, a tweet. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I have no problem with the angle that's happening in AEW right now. I like what the direction they're going right now, and AEW was built on the popularity of the Bullet Club. I mean, obviously, All In was the catalyst, big Bullet Club logos in the background there. The diehard AEW fan base, they're eating this up with Kenny and Good Brothers and the Bucks throwing up with Too Sweet and all this stuff. So I think for AEW, it made a ton of sense to do this angle and capitalize on what their fan base loves.
Well, the other thing too is like we saw several minor attempts from WWE to kind of capitalize on this, but they didn't go as hard into it. I think part of it is because Vince has these I don't know what the word is, but like he's not always apt to lean into something that wasn't his creation, without him putting his spin on it. So like they were never going to go full hard with the Bullet Club in WWE, but they sort of alluded to that several times, and no one really had an issue with it. You weren't seeing like Tama Tonga like tweet out about them not being the real OG Bullet Club, even if they were because they kind of were in a way.
Right.
So, it's just kind of funny. It's like he has beef with these guys doing it, but not the other guys when, 2/3 of them are the same guys. So, I mean, it's whatever, it's all work at the end of the day. So, I mean, it's business. So, my big thing is like, they can't, I think they're playing a little fast and loose with the rules a little bit, because they've mentioned the Bullet Club several times. They're not making it prominent, but they've mentioned it a couple times, and then wearing I don't really know what the trademark rules are with wearing the merch and everything like that, but I think they could.
Yeah, Kenny wore a Bullet Club shirt on the Impact pay-per-view this weekend.
Yeah, so who knows? I mean, it's smart on their part, but I think they just gotta be careful because I don't know how the legalities work between countries and stuff like that, but
And now there's a report that came out today that AEW is trademarking the words "Too Sweet" to be used on merchandising.
Which I've always thought that WWE actually owned that trademark.
They might have let it expire.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I was always of the understanding that they had the trademark on Too Sweet.
Yeah, and that there was, NXT trying to capitalize on some of this going on. There was an angle towards the end of NXT. You had Balor and Adam Cole, two former Bullet Club guys helping each other out there. At the end, the crowd, the quote-unquote crowd, Thunderdome chanting Too Sweet.
The piped-in crowd.
Yeah, so everybody's trying to, capitalize on the momentum of the angle going on right now with Kenny and the Good Brothers.
Interesting.
We have some news here on New Japan World subscriptions. They did a record.
Oh! Before we move on, there was one thing I've totally forgot to mention this, and it's my fault. During New Japan Strong, we had, and I don't know if it was the debut, but to me it was the debut of a new Geni Gucci. Oh God, what is the name of the freaking thing? I love it so much.
That's the sponge gimmick thing.
It's not a sponge. This one's a spray.
Okay, yeah. Is that the spray that Triple H was talking about?
Gekiochi-kun. Yeah, they have a new Gekiochi-kun commercial, and it's a follow up to the original commercial, and it's even better because every time freaking Clark Connors goes to snap his fingers and transport them, the other guys don't want him to do it, and
they've had the commercial for a while now.
Bro, I haven't been watching Strong, so I thought it was new. It's new for me. I fucking love it. It's really, it's the best thing on the show. Why are you laughing?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So New Japan World did a record this month, hitting 130,000 subscribers for the first time. It was one of the biggest gains for Tokyo Dome in history, of more than 20,000 the week of the show. The record was 40,000 in 2018 for Jericho vs. Omega. The belief here is that there was a lot of people who would have gone to the show live but didn't want to risk it or weren't able to get tickets but still wanted to see the show. So that came from
I don't buy that.
Yeah, that came from the Wrestling Observer.
Yeah, but think about the logic of that. You think that people who are going to go to Tokyo to watch New Japan don't have New Japan World subscriptions? Right. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you would think they would already. If you're a New Japan fan, you already have it.
I'm sure there are some people who don't, who are willing to go to Japan, but bro, like that's gotta be so few and far between. Think about the logic of that. There's so few people I think that would actually apply to.
Yeah.
I think my thinking is just that 2020 has been a terrible year. Most of the pay-per-views have sucked, and this was a Tokyo Dome show with a large crowd and two really excellent shows, and I think they drew because I think people wanted to see a semi-normal pay-per-view. That's just what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and especially it says 20,000 for the week, so there was a lot of buzz coming from these shows at the beginning of the week, so you could have had people hearing how great the shows were Monday and Tuesday and then subscribe throughout the rest of the week to catch the show.
Oh, that makes even more sense. Yeah, I was thinking like people subscribed ahead of time, and I knew that seemed a little bit of a stretch, but the logic that was thrown out there just didn't make sense to me. But what you're saying makes total sense. People saying these shows were fucking awesome. And then they're like, oh, well, I better go check it out. Good wrestling in this COVID era. That sounds great, So, of course.
And last thing here in the news, the Tokon Shop, they are doing a online meet and greet with our good friend Rocky Romero and David Finley on January 21st. So you can check out njpw1972.com for all the details on that online meet and greet.
Nice. Well, we got some questions here. Did we get the questions that rolled in late last week?
Yeah, that was from Dom Homie 101, and I have all of them listed up there right front and center.
All right, cool. Well, let's roll through these.
Yeah, so first he asks, where does Yo fit in when he returns from injury?
Well, I think that's kind of up to the bookers. I mean, I think he could fit right back into Chaos like immediately if that's the way they wanted to go. They could reunite Roppongi 3K pretty easily, which I think a lot of people are hoping for. And if you want to make a story out of his return and maybe a tension between the two tag team members and build that to a split, that'd be a very classic sort of story. If you wanted to bring him back and go some other route and plug him into a different group, I think you could do that too. I mean, at this point, I guess the most logical thing would be bring him back to Chaos, but I've got this sneaking suspicion that maybe Roppongi 3K is done.
Yeah, I feel like, I'm with you there. I think Roppongi 3K is done. I think the biggest thing to do, especially if you want to get some buzz, is have Yo come back and turn on him turn on Show and kick off their feud. But again, Yo could easily just come back and they just continue to do Roppongi 3K. They still haven't got that long, junior tag title run they were supposed to get. So maybe Gato wants to get that under their belt before he splits them. So it all depends.
He also asked, after losing to Ibushi on night 1 of Wrestle Kingdom, where does Naito go from here? Will we ever see him main eventing Tokyo Dome again? And will we ever see him get another run with the IWGP Championship?
Well, I think there's also a lot of questions on where Naito goes from here. Obviously, right now he's not really doing much on these Roti shows, not scheduled for Nagoya or Hiroshima, one of the big matchups. But obviously, Castle Attack is coming up, and we mentioned earlier. I think he could be a challenger for Bushi for that big February show. I do think, especially now we have 2 Dome main events, and he's still active. I think he could still main event a Dome one of the nights again next year. Will he get another run with the title? I don't know. I definitely don't think this year. But they could maybe in a year or two give him one more run.
I don't think it's impossible that we see him win the title again. I think it kind of depends on a lot of different things that happen between now and then. I would be inclined to say no, but if you wanted to make him a credible champion to drop the belt to someone, kind of add his name and prestige to that person, like let's say hypothetically Will Ospreay, that's something I could see happening. So, or something of that nature. So yeah, that's definitely a possibility. As far as what comes next for him, I think it's got to be a big feud, and we're kind of in that strange part. A lot of people have sort of mentioned this over the years. They've mentioned, like with New Japan, that the roster, so many of these guys have been in rotation for so many years. We've seen them all feud with one another at some point, that you kind of run out of options. So I think you kind of have to come up with something new for him to do. And it's kind of tough because we've seen many of the different guys that are on the roster, wrestle with him. One option is like, I don't know, maybe like Jeff Cobb. It would be like a new challenge. There's always Shingo, but they're on the same faction, but down the line, with the twist of fate and they don't end up, being stablemates, that's another feud. A lot of the big feuds that are out there for him reside in LIJ, and that's kind of one of the issues. Obviously, I think most of the guys in the United Empire are all new challengers for him, so that's kind of out there too.
Yeah. He also asked, any bold predictions for NJPW in 2021? I'm talking outside the box type of predictions, like the breakup of LIJ, reformation of Evil and Sonata as a unit, and your return to cause show the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title.
Oof, I haven't thought of any really crazy outside of the box things. Can you think of anything that you're feeling?
Yeah, here's my crazy, bold, out of the box prediction. Shingo Takagi wins the IWGP title.
That would be cool. Oh man, God, I'm on the spot here, and I'm tired tonight. I don't have anything yet. I guess I'd have to think about it. I don't have a crazy outside the box bold prediction right now.
All right. Well, yeah. Think about that, and then maybe next week come with something.
I wish. I mean, I don't know. It's tough, man. It's tough to predict that sort of stuff.
Yeah. He also asked any way too early Wrestle Kingdom 16 main event predictions. He's going with Naito versus Hiromu and Ibushi versus Ospreay.
Maybe my bold prediction should be that Wrestle Kingdom will only be one night next year. I don't know. For Wrestle Kingdom, I don't know. I think Will Ospreay and Naito makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I also, for some reason, feel like Okada's going to win the G1 this year.
I mean, yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of like his the answer of Ibushi and Ospreay for one of the nights. I think there's a history there, leading back to them wrestling for the Never title, opening Wrestle Kingdom, just the matches they've had. I think that could be a compelling main event there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that'd be really great. I know my two predictions do not coincide with one another. Obviously, if Okada wins the G1, he'd probably be in the main event. But for
not necessarily,
most likely.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that at some point, I just think Will Ospreay and Naito's a very protected match. We've never seen it happen, so that's got to be either a Dome main event or a G1 final.
Yeah,
most likely.
Yeah, I would do it for the Dome.
Although we kind of said the same thing about Jay White and Naito, and they did that as a B block final the first time,
right?
Which was surprising.
Next question. He says, since GOD surpasses Tenkozy for most tag team reigns at NJPW, do you guys think that we might get GOD versus Tenkozy match in the near future?
I wouldn't be opposed to it, especially since there's a lack of tag teams in the division anyways, so why not?
Right, and clearly they're utilizing Kojima and Tenzan in this time where they have a limited roster. So, yeah, to freshen up the tag scene, why not give those guys a match?
But GOD's not even in Japan right now, right?
Yeah, they're back here in Florida, and they'll be flying back for the tag title match coming up in February against Techers.
Okay.
Non-NJPW question, but a funny question. What are you guys' thoughts on the whole Fiend Orton Bliss program?
I think he's got to throw Asuka into there too now. I don't really keep up with it. I just I'll see a couple of the things here or there. To me, it's total bullshit, but my girlfriend loves it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't watch WWE. I only see what happens based off of GIFs on Twitter, and then I listen to Observer to hear the recap of what happens, but I don't really watch the program. I'm not really invested. Go ahead.
Also, the Alexa Bliss stuff, I'm just going to throw it out there. It's problematic.
Yeah.
They got this girl out there with pigtails
on a swing.
On a swing set, talking like a child. You do the math.
Yeah. Overall, throw the whole thing in the trash. You better believe 2021 FOH draft that's going to be drafted.
This may be a silly question, but are GOD still in Japan? Which is no.
Nope,
they're not.
They're here.
About that time again, what are the young boy thoughts on Ryan Garcia? Is he the real deal or just another Victor Ortiz? What are Ryan's chances against Tank Davis? Oh, that's a great question. I've always had a lot of apprehension when it comes to Ryan Garcia. To me, I always saw him as just kind of like a YouTube fighter, someone who got a lot of notoriety for the social media posts that he was putting out there, but hadn't really done enough in the ring to kind of back up what was out there. But this most recent win that he just got over Luke Campbell, he showed A, that he's got a great chin, B, that he's got guts, and C, that he is the real deal. I still got Gervonta over him, But I mean, I think he's way beyond Victor Ortiz when it comes to skill and talent. He does remind me in a lot of ways of a young Oscar De La Hoya, and I think he's got a smart marketing team behind him, and the fact that they know how to capitalize on social media in a way that so many other sports figures, personalities, athletes, wrestlers, MMA fighters, boxers, they don't know how to do what Ryan Garcia's been doing. And it is kind of what you need to do to get over in these days. And he's a young guy. He's like 21, 22, something like that. And he's kind of figured it out. So really looking forward to seeing him and Gervonta Davis. I think that, styles make fights. It's tough because they're both so fast and so young. I don't even know that could even be a good fight. I think it's more going to be like a shootout, whoever lands first, because both those guys are just, devastating punchers. But I got Gervonta.
Nice. Next question here from User Grunty Dodd says, last week you predicted that because of COVID uncertainty, NJPW will do much of its storytelling through tournaments in 2021. Between Japan and the U.S., they managed to run 10 tournaments in 6 months last year. Do you see them beating that record in 2021?
I don't. I think that we're going to get more standard, tours and shows, kind of like what we're getting with these next two tours. But that doesn't preclude them from running maybe, say, mini tournaments in the middle of the tours just to kind of keep things interesting. I think we're still going to get the majority of the tournaments that we usually get. So, I mean, I don't see them necessarily beating their record last year, but it's going to, in order for them to run tours, it's going to, with limited rosters, things like that, it's going to require them to be very, very creative when it comes to, how they book the shows.
Yeah, I guess the one encouraging thing, too, is it's seeming like we're getting back to the normal schedule here with New Japan Cup being in March and springtime. And so right after that is Best Super Juniors. So it seems like the tournaments are going to fall in their normal place. I'm not sure about G1 because obviously, the Olympics are supposed to be, trying to run again this summer. And so that would have to push G1 back to the fall. But with COVID up in the air, I'm not even sure if the Olympics would be able to run anyway. So a lot of questions up in the air there. But I think with the schedule kind of going back to normal, I think it does help them out with not having to run as many tournaments as they did last year.
Yeah.
Next question from Redditor Viking Pain says, hey, young boy, what's your finish and what's the worst bump you've taken so far?
That's an interesting question because worst bump, I mean, that could mean a lot of different things. I mean, the most painful bump I ever took was one I've talked about in the show where I literally had a crash pad out on the cement and I was on the apron, a low apron, by the way. We actually just got a new ring at the dojo and it's like several feet taller. So, I mean, I was pretty low to the ground and I just took a flat back bump onto the crash pad on the cement. And I mean, it hurt. So, I mean, it's kind of weird because the most painful bump I've taken is on a crash pad like that. The other thing too is we have a new ring and it's a lot stiffer, way stiffer than the original ring that we were training in. It's a lot higher quality ring though. So that's kind of changed a lot of the dynamics. I wouldn't say that I've taken any really bad bumps. The worst bumps I've probably taken are probably bumps that I've taken myself just in the course of training where I didn't take them right. Just literally like flat back bumps or like T bumps. Those, if you don't do them right, they suck. But in terms of like the most dangerous bump I ever took, Jeremy was actually there for it. I took a high angle, what is it?
Backdrop.
Just a high angle backdrop. Which up to that point, I'd never taken a high angle, but that's just the way the momentum took us. And I landed it fine. I didn't feel anything at all, especially since I was in the middle of a match. But that was probably the worst, quote unquote, the worst bump I ever took. As far as a finish, I don't really have one defined yet.
Boston Crab.
Yeah, I guess a Boston Crab. I am still a green boy, so there is a submission that I've messed around with and played around with. It's called the spider twist, and I've got kind of a cool setup transition to get into that move. But I mean, I've never actually used it, for real. So I mean, I don't know if that's even going to end up being my sub or not, or my finish. So I imagine for a while I'm just going to get my ass beat. So
His next question, based on Goto and Ishii's comments about Jay and his recent struggles, is the end game for this Jay White storyline a future babyface run for Switchblade?
I think so, 100%.
Yeah, we've been saying on the show for a while now, there's a lot of money to be made with Jay as a babyface. I think it makes perfect sense for him to come back and not rely on Bullet Club, especially after New Year's Dash and Wrestle Kingdom, where none of them are really helping him out or really behind him. So I think him coming back and kind of leaving Bullet Club would be the best thing going forward.
Next question, is there anything going on with Impact in New Japan? We know Don Callis has been trying to fix the relationship for years, and Impact guys like Chris Bay and TJP have had matches for New Japan USA, but even then I was still surprised to see the Bullet Club logo at their recent pay-per-view show.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on between Impact and New Japan. I really don't think there's much going on there. I think obviously that was just Kenny doing his thing to get people talking for his angle. I think TJP and Chris Bay have different contracts to where they can do outside stuff, especially TJP, considering he wrestles MLW as well.
I know TJP does. I think the deal with Chris Bay was like he got it approved through the office.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, and yeah, that could have been them. Yeah, definitely with Chris Bay trying to open some doors there, but
I don't think there's anything going on between the two. I don't even know necessarily that statement about Don Callis trying to repair the relationship for years is even accurate. I mean, I know that Don West and them. Is it Don West? No, it's not Don West. Who's the other?
Scott D'Amore.
Yeah, I always mix him up. Scott D'Amore and them made a play to try to repair the relationship once, and it was not received. But I think that the rift with Axis tells us a lot more about the relationship between these two than any other thing that's happened in recent past. Did they display their logo when they brought in Chris Bay? Sure, but that's about it. Like,
right.
I really don't think there's a working relationship of any sort whatsoever between these two companies. And, when it does happen, it'll be cool, but.
Yeah, and as of right now, we're Ring of Honor is still the American partner for New Japan. We're seeing Ring of Honor guys on Strong. There's still some kind of relationship going there.
Yep.
Next question here from user Kaiju917. Is it time for LIJ to get a new pareja? Or how about Suzuki-gun? What does that even look like? Do you have to murder someone from Nora to let you in?
Well, you do have to roll with Minoru Suzuki. I think, his primary sparring partner is Desperado, and Desperado gets the shit kicked out of him all the time by Suzuki. So I wouldn't be opposed to either team getting a new member. I just don't really know who that person would even be, especially given like the COVID climate.
Right. Yeah. LIJ, I really can't think of anybody right now that could fit in.
Mysterioso. No, I'm just joking.
I want to see how Mysterioso would do in Japan, though.
I'm very impressed with Mysterioso, but I mean, I think being a luchador, a heavyweight luchador, there's a lot of limitations to what you could do with that character.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, that Chris Dickinson to Suzuki-gun would be a great fit.
But I mean, we've talked about like them changing groups, changing leaders, debuting new groups, splintering, things like that. But I mean, sometimes just adding a new, member does a lot of wonders. And I mean, we saw that when Shingo joined, LIJ. So maybe it is time for those groups to bring in other people. But I mean, right now, the only thing is they're pretty filled out in terms of like where everyone is in their pecking order and the hierarchy and everything. So, the bringing in a new character for me, all it would do is kind of rock the boat in terms of that hierarchy.
Yeah.
At this for those two specific groups, I don't see how you easily bring someone in cohesively and just, bring them into the rotation right now.
Yeah, and for Sugi-gun, there's also still the possibility of like a Tai Chi takeover and it being Tai Chi-gun at some point.
Maybe, possibly.
Next question here from our user Mobert Suplex for your predictions for the Tanahashi Shingo match for the Never title.
My only prediction is right now is that it's going to be an incredible match.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a match of the year contender. But we'll give our official predictions when we preview that New Beginning show.
Rambo and Slam Pig asked us, has there been any update on Carl Fredericks? Last I knew, he was injured, but I am not sure how long he was supposed to be out. Do you see him going to Japan for some tours or staying in America for Strong once he is recovered?
So I know I saw a tweet of him today talking about going into the dojo. So I'm not quite sure where he's at. I don't know if he's just going to rehab or if he's back rolling and training and stuff like that. But I would imagine if he's at the dojo, he's probably on the road to recovery, and we'll probably see him on Strong first, and then maybe some down the line once travel restrictions ease up and they can get more people into the country.
Now, Carl is a guy that obviously everyone who sees him sees big money in him, and I'm like, I just wonder what management sees as far as how far they're willing to go with him, because I think the obvious answer at some point is he's already graduated. At some point you have to bring him over, but it's so pivotal in how and when they bring him over. Because for my money, my thinking is when you bring him over, I'm not saying you go full Okada with him, but you might want to go just a smidge below that. Maybe you bring him in and have him win a whole fucking New Japan Cup right out the gate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or something along those lines, because I'm but then it with how faction oriented New Japan proper is, you kind of got to wonder where he would even fit in. Does he come in as a lone wolf? How would that all kind of fit and work? And they got a lot of top gaijin already. I mean, they're with the fact that this is a domestic product. I mean, how much room is there for a guy like Carl Fredericks when you've got Jay White and Will Ospreay and people like that on top? So I mean, it's kind of hard to say which way they'd go, but I think, I mean, if you wanted to make a star, you got everything to make a star with him right there.
Yeah, I definitely think he needs a debut that makes a big impact. Well, that's winning a tournament or beating somebody big or jumping somebody that's a top star. He definitely needs to be inserted into the picture as a top star from day one. Next question from the doc, Chad Matthews, or his shoot name, Chad McIntyre. He says, who is most likely to dethrone the current singles champions, and when do you think each title change will take place?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Who do you think is going to beat Ibushi for the gold?
Yeah, that is the tough one right there.
There is a part of me that thinks Will Ospreay makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
When that would happen, I mean, it might be too bold, but maybe you go literally at Sakura Genesis in April.
Yeah,
I know it's a quick turnaround, but you could do that.
Yeah, or you have Ospreay win a New Japan Cup, and then what will that be? That would take.
That's what I just said, man. Sakura Genesis.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what the winner gets Sakura Genesis. Yeah, I think
that's the same. That's the same thing I just said.
Yeah. For some reason, I was picturing Sakura Genesis later, but yeah, that's right after New Japan Cup.
As far as I think the rest of this question is when will each title change take place? Meaning I think it means all the titles. There's too many titles for me to answer that part of the question. I think it's intriguing, but
junior tag titles. I mean,
bro, I can't map out every title.
I could see those changing place on Saturday with Phantasma and the whole loaded boot gimmick. The Never title, that's one of those titles that's kind of hot potato, but I feel like Shingo is going to have a long run with that title.
See, that's the thing is there are probabilities that some of these titles might change here in February, but I can't map it out for the rest of the year, and
Yeah.
I just think that aspect of the question is too hard. As far as like the first part, for sure, absolutely, I think that's a great question, but and not to say the second part's bad, but it's just like, bro, I have no clue when when the U.S. title is going to drop and when and where. Like, I've got no clue.
Yeah, well, hopefully that's happening soon with Mox and Kenta. But yeah, I mean, as far as like who can take the Never title, I can see Cobb eventually getting the Never title this year, or even Ocon as a guy who can get the Never title this year.
Yeah, as I said, there's just too many titles to kind of plan it out. That like I can't predict all that.
So next, last few questions here from Kevin from DC. First says, my copy of King of Strong Style just came in the mail yesterday, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading it. Have either of you read it, and do you have any thoughts? It is written as one long extended interview and covers his life up until right before Kingdom 9. It looks to be a good read. There's even a picture of Nakamura and Bryan Danielson reenacting the Titanic pose from their LA Dojo time together. Hilarious. Also, if we ignore the Chris Charlton book, since they get mentioned every time someone asks, have either of you read any other books about Pure worth checking out? I know you guys were put on this earth to lead, not read.
That's a funny question. No, I mean, I definitely know about the Nakamura book. I've never read it. I've read some excerpts from it. I think at some point I'd like to read it. This is kind of a cop-out. It's not a book, but, the series that they're doing on the NJPW 1972 website with Hiroshi Tanahashi about his life has been an incredibly insightful read that I highly recommend. But as far as like actual pro wrestling books, I think we had this question a few weeks ago and I gave out some recommendations, but none of them that I've read personally.
Yeah, I have not read King of Strong Style, and I haven't read anything outside of the Charlton stuff to check out. And his last question here, he says, this isn't purely a Jeremy trait, but it seems every time someone writes or talks about a Satoshi Kojima match, they have to include the moniker of my man, Satoshi Kojima, at the beginning. Last question of the week. If someone were to talk about a wrestler exclusively and start off with my man, who would be the most ridiculous wrestler to use in this style? I don't see many people clamoring for my man, Captain New Japan, or my man, Chase Owens, or dear God, my man, Doki, but your mileage may vary.
I'm pretty sure there have been many times I've actually said my man, Chase Owens.
Especially at the beginning of this show.
That's my boy.
We've said my man, Chase Owens.
Except for like after the allegations and stuff from the Speaking Out, I kind of quieted that down a little bit.
I think I'm fine with saying my man Doki.
Yeah, Doki's raw, man. Who's the most like ridiculous? I don't know. Like I don't attribute claiming someone unless they're raw as fuck. So
my man Jado, that could be pretty ridiculous.
But Jado was awesome at one point. Gato too. I don't know.
My man, Bad Luck Fale.
Yeah, that would be ridiculous, man.
Try to think.
I don't know, man.
Try to think of any other crazy ones.
I don't know. It's late. I don't have good answers for this stuff. Let's go to the recommended match and move on.
So, recommended match of the week last week was Kazuchika Okada versus Marufuji from King of Pro Wrestling 2016. This match was incredible. Also, the big build here of Marufuji pinning Okada in the G1. That was a one loss that really prevented Okada from winning the G1 this year. That year. And so, viewed here, they set up here kind of Noah versus New Japan. It's just excellent stuff here. I mean, this was a traditional Okada main event matchup here. Marufuji killing Okada with chops all throughout the match. Your great Okada sequences coming back with DTs, dropkick to the floor, the crossbody over the guardrail. Marufuji, a lot of great kicks, great quick kicks. Hit a pile driver to Okada on the apron. There was this awesome submission that he did that was a rolling Cobra clutch thing into a triangle choke thing. That's the best way I can describe it. That was awesome. I think somebody should steal that as a finish. Marufuji hitting Cobra clutch backbreaker. There was a great strike exchange. Marufuji was hitting a bunch of V-triggers in this match. Okada kicked out of the sliced bread. That was a big moment there, countering sliced bread into a Rainmaker, hitting Marufuji with his Emerald Flosion, and then pinning him with the Rainmaker.
Yeah, and I mean, him hitting him with the Emerald Flosion right before the Rainmaker is like adding insult to injury, because obviously that's Misawa's one of his big finishers. Just really awesome. I mean, it's a big spectacle match. The match that they had in the G1 was sort of like your traditional wrestlers, kind of Paradise sort of match. This was more like your big style main event spectacle sort of match, which, we don't get enough of those. And so, I mean, in 2016, I mean, you had the Ace of Noah against the Ace of New Japan. I mean, it was a big fucking deal. And this match was just incredible. Lots of times people like to talk about the Shibata match being like the tough man match, sort of like testing Okada's mettle at Sakura Genesis. But I mean, you got a lot of that here with this Marufuji match. Marufuji just fucking lightened this dude up.
For a second, I thought I was watching Walter the way he was freaking killing Okada with those chops.
Yeah, I love Marufuji. He still can go even right now, which is great. But this match is just really, really awesome, and it's one of those things that just continues to add to the legacy and legend of Kazuchika Okada and why he is so revered the way that he is. If you've never seen this match, it's a must watch. I was surprised that you actually hadn't seen it, Jeremy, but yeah, I mean, now you kind of got that checked off. I mean, yeah. I'd recommend watching the G1 match too. It's probably just as good, but in a different way.
Yeah, I went 4.75 on this. Absolutely incredible matchup here. I love the whole presentation. Also, the whole Noah versus New Japan thing, and Marufuji coming out with some Noah guys, and just the whole 7 presentation, and just the fact, can this Noah guy take the title and end up main eventing Wrestle Kingdom? The whole story was great matchup. I loved it.
I agree. Really, really like this match.
And then the recommended match for this week will be Satoshi Kojima versus Shibata from the G1 Climax 23, August 2nd, 2013.
Nice. Looking forward to watching that.
So, nice little hard in action, little highlight match here of Kojima as we get ready for Kojima versus Will Ospreay. And that's going to wrap everything up for this week. Next week we'll be back to talk more about the road to new beginning, looking at the new beginnings in Nagoya and Hiroshima coming up. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate. Click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. The show on Twitter is @KIStrongStyle. The network is @Social Suplex. I am @Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Social Suplex. You can find us in the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, we're @Social Suplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy @socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rachel Latta and James Boyd. We have the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland. Grave Consequences with Caleb and Maserati. The 8-Bit Suplex with Josh number 2 and Sandy. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. And the Great Match Generator with Danny and Beast Mike. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.